Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Sam and Doug complete the rear differential and the Alpha 1 GTO. Along with the differential, they'll complete all of the rear suspension parts that tie everything together. All of the upgraded parts are designed to work together to help keep the rear end of this GTO under control.
We have our differential fully installed in the pumpkin. It's ready to install it in the car, but we're not going to be using the old parts, right, Doug?
No. We've gone with the billet aluminum. Let's go ahead and get this thing installed, take a look and see how it all fits.
Absolutely. You know, Doug, this mustache bar is a lot nicer than the factory stamped steel one. It's going to give it a lot more rigidity.
Yeah, a lot more strength on the salmon. It's lighter too. If you take a look, they went ahead and milled everything out, keep the lightness, but yet they kept the strength.
Absolutely. And you guys, anytime you order something and you see that it comes pre-assembled for you, don't assume the hardware is tight. Go ahead and double check it with your own tools, just to give you some peace of mind knowing it's been put together correctly. And what Doug is doing right now is this sleeve is going to go inside the middle of our urethane bushing. It's very important to lube anytime you use a urethane bushing. If you don't, you're going to have horrible squeaking sounds. The cool thing is that the kit comes with a packet for you to be able to do that. If you guys working on something, in this case we didn't have instructions, but always pay attention to your hardware because you can see right there is a message on mine. So this washer is there to keep the bushing in place. We don't need one on the top part because the body of the car is there. It's going to work as the spacer. In our case, we only need it for the bottom, and that's what the writing is telling us.
What I'm doing here is I'm using the C-clamp to seat the bushings. Just makes it real easy. Everything's already seated before we go ahead and we put it up.
Now you can tighten these all the way down because the sleeve that we put in the middle is what keeps it from crushing the bushings. That's going to get you to stop. So you guys can go ahead and tighten these down, do about 80 to 90 foot-pounds of torque. Now we're going to put the rear mount on, and our rear mount also replaces the factory rubber mount to a solid one. So all we got to do is put the bolts in from the top, put our cross member in. Now Doug, look at the difference between this bracket you're putting in, that's boxed in billet aluminum, compared to the one that you took out that was just bent on a brake with no gusset.
Yeah.
This probably did something like this the whole time they were driving it. That's going to make this rear end so much more solid.
It will, Sam, and the way this is all boxed in, we'll know exactly what the rear end is doing at all times. And that's so important in setting a car up like this.
Absolutely.
Make sure you leave everything loose first. Don't start tightening one end and tightening another spot and tightening another spot until you have everything in. Otherwise, you could really fight it.
You know, the proper tools really makes your job so much easier. I got a swivel 1/4 inch 14 impact here. I got a long 1/4 inch extension along with the nut driver, and it just made putting those two 14s up in there so much easier. So what we did there was the factory one, the lower control arm, has a bolt that keeps it in the center so that the control arm stays in its right spot, and this new one does not. So we made sure before we tightened it that everything was straight up just like it was with the factory. Then we hit the bolts in the back. Now we're going to go ahead and put our braces in the front and hit them next. What do you think, Doug? It's all done. It's going to be a real nice upgrade.
Yeah, it really is, Sam. And I take a look at how all of this is designed and how it's all built and made. This is just absolutely tremendous. It's going to be really interesting when we get an opportunity to put this on the track. But as I'm looking at all of it, I think we're going to want to take that sway bar from mounted here to go ahead and mount it on the back. That's going to go ahead and box everything and just give it a little bit more stiffness to it all.
Absolutely. So all we got to do now is finish up with our hub assemblies, install the new 300ZX twin turbo axles we got, and we should be good to go back here.
Absolutely fantastic.